Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Jonathan, and we're the lawyers at Verity Law.
Today, we're talking about Canadian immigration, namely spousal sponsorship. This is when a Canadian, one with a PR or citizenship card, sponsors their non-Canadian lover to Canada. If this application is successful, then the non-Canadian applicant will receive their permanent residency status.
Spousal sponsorship is very popular because there is no language requirement, work experience, or education requirement. Also, the applicant is not graded on a point system.
Instead, the requirement is that the applicant must be in a romantic relationship with their Canadian sponsor. There are 3 types of relationships that qualifies. Today, we will use 3 popular stories to explain each one.
First, married couples. This means the Canadian sponsor and the non-Canadian applicant have been legally married in any country. It does not have to be Canada. In the fairy tale Snow White by Grimm's Brothers, the stepmom and the king are an example of a married couple.
Since the stepmom has the formal title of queen, their marriage must have been valid and recognized in their country. So, they are eligible to apply for spousal sponsorship. Also, everyone in the land knows that the king and queen are married to each other, so their union is widely known and supported. There is no evidence that anyone opposed their marriage.
To show public support, the king and queen should ask each other's parents to write letters to immigration, where they state in writing that the couple have their approval. Although parental consent is not required for spousal sponsorship, it will help greatly. As well, their friends should write letters to support them. The point is to show that the friends and family all know about the marriage and support it. This is not a private union known only by the sponsor and the applicant.
Next, the king and queen should each write their own letters describing their love story. This is where most applicants mess up. You do not want to write a generic and cold story. Simply including general phrases like, "we love each other," or "we're meant to be together" is unconvincing. Rather, the king and queen should write unique stories that only relate to them.
For instance, the king was attracted to the queen's beauty, or her long black hair, slender figure, stylish wardrobe. The queen was attracted to the king's soft way of speaking, his hobby of literature and poetry, etc. As you can see, those details are specific to the king and queen and do not apply to any other couple.
Photos are a great addition to the application, but not just any photos. Good ones show intimate details about the couple's lives and other people's support of them. Examples include wedding photos. It's best to have a grand wedding with high attendance. Intimate photos showing the king and queen hugging and kissing, and social photos showing outings with family and friends. In conclusion, although the queen is the villain in Snow White, her spousal sponsorship would be approved. She has married to the king for many years. Their marriage is widely known and supported by the public, and they have many types of financial interdependence.
But what if you're not married? Well, you can still apply if you've lived together as a couple for at least 1 year. This is called a common law sponsorship. There must be documents that can prove this, such as a joint deed, joint rental agreements, joint bills to the same address, and driver's licenses or insurance documents showing that the sponsor and applicant live at the same address.
Those documents must clearly show the first date during which the couple lived together. However, just living together is not enough. The couple must be living together romantically. The fairy tale Little Mermaid by Grimm Brothers is a good case study. In this story, Little Mermaid fell in love with the human prince Eric. After giving up her voice in exchange for legs, she lived with Prince Eric in his castle.
Here, Little Mermaid should produce documents showing the first date that they lived together. It's best if Prince Eric can add her to the deed of the castle, or Little Mermaid could update her mailing address and the residential address on her driver's license. She should also offer to pay some bills, which would be sent to the address of the castle.
Okay, so Little Mermaid lives here now, but are they living together romantically? This is debatable, as the prince does not appear intimate with her at first. To prove this, they should take some romantic photos and become financially interdependent. They could get a joint bank account or buy life insurance naming each other as beneficiaries.
Now, owning assets together could also help. Prince Eric could add her name to the castle's deed or onto his vehicles. Having children or plans to have children could also benefit their application.
But a negative factor against them is that Little Mermaid's father disagrees with their marriage. So her father is unlikely to provide letters of support. But they can still include their own letters describing their love stories and supporting letters from friends and from Eric's parents, such as the people who work in Eric's castle or Little Mermaid's seaside friends. All things considered, once they have lived together for a year or more, their application should succeed.
Now, the third category is called a conjugal relationship. This means the couple is not married and could not live together due to factors beyond their control. However, they have been in a permanent romantic relationship for at least 1 year. This is the hardest type of sponsorship application. Now, factors beyond their control must be very severe. Examples include that the applicant was married to another person but could not get a divorce to be with the sponsor because, for example, the applicant's country does not allow divorce, or the applicant and sponsor are a same-sex couple in a country that does not recognize and penalizes same-sex relationships.
So, let's illustrate this with the famous play Romeo and Juliet. In this play, the star-crossed lovers could not get married. Although they did have a private wedding ceremony, we will assume that their marriage was not valid given they're underaged. Also, they could not live together as their families hated each other. So they can only apply under conjugal relationship after being together for 1 year. This is the hardest category to apply. They must satisfy the following requirements.
First is a shared shelter. Does the couple live and sleep together whenever they could? Romeo and Juliet fail this category as they did not have a place of their own. Whenever Romeo visited Juliet, he could not enter her house or sleep with her as their families hated each other. Next, sexual and personal behavior, especially whether the couple is only in love with each other and no one else. While Juliet satisfies this criterion, Romeo fails. He was originally in love with Rosaline and only days later became attracted to Juliet.
Then it's services, which are the sharing of household chores. Romeo and Juliet did not share any household chores as they had servants doing all the work. So they failed this category. Also, immigration agents will look at their social activities, how they present themselves to their community and their families. As their families hated each other, Romeo and Juliet could not announce that they're in a loving relationship to them. However, Romeo and Juliet could say their closest friends, such as Juliet's nurse and Friar Lawrence, knew about their union.
But the fact that their communities and families strongly disagreed with the relationship is still a negative factor. When Tybalt, Juliet's cousin, challenged Romeo to a duel, Romeo refused. He believed that since he's together with Juliet, Tybalt is also his family. In contrast, Tybalt still considers Romeo a sworn enemy and is not his family. Similarly, Mercutio, Romeo's friend, did not believe Romeo and Juliet were together, so he encouraged the duel. It's obvious that few people supported this relationship.
Another factor is economic support, whether the star-crossed lovers are financially interdependent or owned assets together. Again, they fail here. It can be assumed that they each own assets under their family name and they do not have any shared assets. They're financially dependent on their own family, but not on each other.
Next is children. Romeo and Juliet do not have any children together. It's uncertain about how they feel about having children. They could write personal statements that they intend to have children one day. However, the lack of support from their family and friends in helping to raise the children would be a negative factor. Also, a child born of rival families would face a lot of hardship, and that's not good.
The societal perception of the two as a couple is also important. This is where Romeo and Juliet would fail the most. Other than Juliet's nurse and Friar Lawrence, nobody supported their relationship. In fact, they all strongly opposed it. While Friar Lawrence was hoping their union would resolve the two families' feud, immigration agents hated that. They see a successful couple as one recognized and hopefully supported by their society and their community.
Lastly, immigration agents will look for any joint decision-making. If Romeo and Juliet consulted each other on all major decisions, then that's a positive factor. Again, the couple fails here. When Juliet's father ordered her to marry another person, Juliet asked Friar Lawrence for help. He proposed that she take a potion that makes her appear dead. Juliet did not consult Romeo about this major decision and did not get his agreement.
Ultimately, this resulted in their tragic ending. Given that they failed in almost every category of conjugal relationship, the immigration agent will likely conclude that their love is doomed for failure, so their application should be rejected.
Romeo and Juliet could have argued that they only failed because of undue hardship. However, a family feud does not count. But if Juliet was already married and their country does not allow divorce, or if Romeo and Juliet were a same-sex couple and their country did not recognize same-sex marriages, then that could be considered as an undue hardship.
In summary, there's 3 categories for spousal sponsorship, which are married couples, common law couple who have lived together for at least 1 year, and conjugal couple who have been in a permanent romantic relationship for at least 1 year.
Interestingly, while the king and evil queen's marriage will be recognized as valid, Romeo and Juliet's love will be rejected. It is important to correctly communicate your love story to immigration. Otherwise, your application would be rejected based on the conclusion that your relationship is not genuine.
Verity Law has helped many families succeed in spousal sponsorship, allowing them to stay together permanently in Canada. We invite you to use the information below to book a first free consultation with us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.